Hi everyone, welcome to week two. This week we are going to talk an overview on the different types of AI that we are going to learn this semester. And by that, I mean we are not going to go over everything related to AI. We last week we talked about different types of AI and how AI was way long before the era of this era of generative AI. AI has a lot of use cases like machine learning, image processing, all of the, for example, application of AI in simulation, in medicine, and so on. We are not going to cover everything about AI. We are not computer science background, so we are going to focus on three types of AI in this course, and I believe that these three types are suitable for everyone. It should be a skill, an essential skill that you would want to have in any job you seek. And these three types are the generative AI, the agentic AI, and the vibe coding. That's what we are going to actually talk about. And it's technically, these are two types. The generative AI and the agentic AI, and inside under agentic AI we can put either using agents to help you in something or using specific agents as software developers or coders, for example. That's the vibe coding. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between these three elements that we want to cover throughout the semester. First thing is generative AI. This is the typical AI tools that you use now anywhere. Like, for example, if you use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a generative AI tool created and developed by a company called OpenAI. Okay, and basically, when we talk about generative AI, we are talking about the AI tools that can generate new information or generate new content. Okay, that doesn't mean it only generate text. We can also talk about image generation, audio generation, video generation. So generative AI is an umbrella of generating new content, whether this content is text or audio or image or video. Okay, and we are going to cover many tools that are used in to generate all of these different kind of content or media. And when we talk about generative AI, the concept behind that is these AI tools technically are called large language processing or large language models, LLM. Okay, and by large language model we mean it uses the language to and translate this language to action, to something that could be generated out of that. So that means that your role is the communicator. Okay, you communicate with this AI tool. You try to communicate by writing something called prompt. Okay, and this prompt is the orders that you give to the AI, so the AI can understand, using the large language model embedded in the AI, can understand your intent and then can translate that into an action you need. For example, if I ask it ChatGPT, what should I do if, for example, I want my driver license or I want to get my driver license? Now, what will happen is this large language model will process the language beyond the superficial translation, because if you write that in Google, for example, Google will take it literally and then try to convert your sentence into keywords and then search about these keywords in all of the websites and then bring the relevant websites to you so you can choose which one do you want or which one the best answers your question. Okay, that's the concept of search engine. Okay, so Google is a search engine. Search engine works by that, taking your inquiry, okay, or taking your query, and then dividing this query into multiple keywords. And sometimes now the advanced search engines like Google try to provide more context to this query by attaching, for example, your location to this query. Okay, if I'm talking about, okay, I want to get my driver license, so Google doesn't only process that query into keywords, but also takes into consideration your location, because me getting a driver license in Utah is different from someone gets the driver license in Pennsylvania, for example. Okay, or any other country, for example. So that's the enhanced search optimization that happens when you run any query over Google, but it's still just taking your keywords and then try to search and provide context to give you best results. And the results here will be in the form of websites related to what you're asking for. So if I'm asking about, for example, I want to get my driver license, the first result most probably will be the DMV or the driver license office in Utah or in Logan near you, for example. Okay, so that's how the search engine works. It just takes your query, try to provide some context to it, and then try to give you the best results externally like that. Okay, what is that different? What does that difference? How does that different from, for example, generative AI? Now, when we talk about generative AI, we are talking about similar process, but just a different approach. It's like, for example, if you ask, I want to get my driver license. Okay, now generative AI will try to understand your query better, because it's try to mimic human mind. That's why we call that AI, artificial intelligence. It tries to get intelligent like humans. So it will ask you, okay, where are you from? Or for example, if it already has your information, if you have an account on ChatGPT and you chatted before with ChatGPT, it knows you and it know, for example, where are you, and then it will give you a result that is not just an external website, but it's processed in the form of someone answering your question. Okay, so ChatGPT will try to search through its database of websites, for example, the DMV of Logan. It has access to that, and then it will try to extract the information you need. Okay, for example, the steps or the paperwork needed for driver license, and then it will use the large language model to convert all of this information into text or an answer, a text answer that suits you. So it will say, for example, okay, here's what you need to do in order to get your driver license. You need to, for example, get your proof of residence in the form of 2 envelopes, for example, and then you need to get, for example, something that proves your age, for example, and so on. Okay, so but it will give you an answer to your question in text, okay, or in audio if you turned on the audio conversation. But this is how generative AI work. The AI component here is the tool that tries to understand your question and at the same time tries to process the external information in a form that is suitable for you. Okay, so it uses search engine. If we technically talk about how the process work. It uses search engine. It tries to search through the internet and or search through the internal database of this AI tool, for example, and then it once it retrieve all of the search results, it tries to process these search results differently. That's the difference between the search engine and the generative AI. It tries to process this search differently by trying to generate text based on that information. That's why it's called generative AI. It generates information based on what it synthesizes information based on what it learned from the search. Okay, so that's how generative AI work. Of course, that's related to the text-based generative AI. It tries to generate text. How about the image? The image generation is different a little bit. It uses it's exactly the same like text generation, but instead of generating text, it generates visuals. So it has image processor, and it has a lot of engines and tools behind the scene that understand the colors, understand the composition of the image, and understand how different image content look like. And it now understand the content of the image. It can generate new content, like for example, if you ask generative AI, okay, please imagine that I am in front of Eiffel Tower, it will take your picture, it analyze your picture, it understands that the subject in the picture is you, and then it can extract you from this image, and then it already understands how Eiffel Tower look like. It will draw Eiffel Tower and it will put you in front of Eiffel Tower. All of this happens as image generation. That's how generative image AI work. Okay, audio is the same. It understand, it listens to the audio, it understand the sounds, and it tries to mimic these sounds. Okay, like for example, if I say, okay, please make me a podcast about generative AI. Okay, what happens is it will first the large language model will first process your query to get text information, like, okay, what is generative AI? How can I organize a podcast into something really quick and meaningful in the form of podcast? And then it comes up with a script for this podcast, and then it takes that script and then it provides AI voices, and there are a lot of AI voices, and we're going to talk about that and play with that during the semester. Throughout the semester, we are going to generate multiple audio and use AI voices and generate a complete podcast out of AI, for example. So it takes that text script, and then using text to speech, it's try to give you an audio version of that text. But okay, someone will ask me, okay, text to speech, speech to text tools are it's present way before the AI. That's right. Text generation, text to speech, and speech to text are or transcription are way old now. But if you think about it, or you listen to text to speech audio versus AI generated audio, you all of a sudden understand how different it is. Because text to speech, it tries to, every word, every letter inside a word has a specific pronunciation, and then text to speech tries to connect all of the letters together to give you a coherent audio or voice reading, for example, a full sentence or a paragraph. You will feel this connection between the letters. You will feel that it is artificial, using only text to speech tools without AI. Okay, because it Yes, it analyzes each letter. It tries to connect the voice of each letter together to create something that looks like a word, but you'll see a lot of incorrect pronunciation. You'll see that you will feel like these letters are just the voices of each letter are just connected together. You will not feel any emotion of the text. So if the text is talking about something that is sad, nothing will happen. For text to speech tools will not understand that emotion because it doesn't analyze the text. It doesn't have the intelligence to analyze the text and understand that this text is sad or it's dramatic, for example. Okay. But okay, let's talk about the AI, the audio generation AI. Now it takes that into next level. Now, yes, it uses as again voice to connect letters, but these voices are so because AI deeply understand how the tone of the voice happen, how to pronunciate a complete word, how to pronunciate a complete sentence. It takes that into consideration. Also, it try to analyze your script. So if you have a script for podcast, okay, I'm talking about something emotional. It knows that there is something emotional in that text, so it changes the tone of the voice based on that emotion. Okay, so that's the generative content here. It tries to not only convert text to speech but also generate emotions, synthesize the tones of the voices, try to not be monotonous over everything. So if you hear an AI generated audio, the same exact words, if you rerun the AI transcription again and again, same word will be pronounced and spoken differently using this AI because AI doesn't have a static voice, letter to voice thing like the text to speech, but it try to generate every time you process the AI, it generate the voice and the tone and the connection between the letters and the emotions. So and it every time it think about that script differently. Okay, that's why we are going to talk about a lot of AI transcription tools throughout the semester, and you'll see every time you reprocess a text using AI, it gives you a different voice that is different, and every time, every iteration will be different. No, you can't see two identical iterations using AI because AI is something that is analyzing and then processing independently, and every time it gets you different, it gets you the information in a different way. Okay, video is the same. So video, when we talk about video, technically video is called a motion graphic. What is motion graphic is that video is a set of images that you can play, so you can see the motion from static images. That's why when you see, for example, a video that has a setting that is 30 frame per second. What is 30 frame per second or FPS? 30 frame per second, that means that this video plays 30 images, 30 static images per second. Okay, each image is plugged into a frame in the timeline of the video. Okay, that's why, okay, if I play a video that is 30 frame per second, that means that 30 images are playing per second. That means that you see a smooth, if that image is, for example, for someone moving, so the first frame will be that someone on the original position. The second frame will be a little bit moved. For example, someone moves from left to right. Okay, so the second frame will be this person moves a little bit and then moves a little bit and then moves a little bit, and then 30 frames of this person moves equal 1 second. That means That's why when you see a video, you don't detect that static image playing. You feel like this person is moving actually. No, this person is not moving. That's the illusion of the camera that shot this person, and the camera is shooting that person 30 times per second. That's why it capture every tiny movement of that person each second. That's why you see the person moving. Okay, the same thing in the AI here. It understands this fact, so it processes the images exactly the way the camera processes, and it understands that image. It understands that there is a subject, there is a motion inside that video that I need to understand, and then thus I can generate that motion again. And we see now AI tools create cinematic content, like Gemini has a tool called View 3, and we're going to play with that a little bit. You can actually generate a cinematic scene without any cameras, without any hard tools. It's just your imagination and your ability to communicate with the AI to generate that cinematic shot. Okay, so that is about generative AI. Generative AI basically is an AI tool that try to generate new information from the information that it has from you. Okay, if you ask a question, it will process that question and it will search about that question. It will gather all of the information that it needs to answer your question, and then it generates a new answer that looks like a human interacting with you. Okay, whether this answer is in text or in image or in audio or in video. Okay, so this is how generative AI work. Okay, um, let's see here. Um, let me finish first the three types of AI, and then I will show you an example here. Um, the second type we are talking about is the agentic AI. Okay, after so generative AI has now been a few years now since generative AI came up, since ChatGPT came up and make a breakthrough around the world, how this intelligent AI tool can answer any of your question exactly like a human being. Okay, but then okay, the developers of this generative AI thought, okay, um, generative AI is great. It answers your questions. It gives you a really good assistant. Either that assistant is a brainstorming assistant, or, for example, someone who will try to help you answering your questions. Um, but it's still limited in terms of it only answers your question. It's like someone in front of you sitting down on a chair answering your question, stand still. Okay, doesn't do any action. For example, if you ask this person, okay, what is the recipe of an Italian pizza, for example. Okay, this person will understand your question, will answer your question, will even give you a recipe. But do you think you can ask this person, if that's the AI tool, you can ask her, okay, go and make that pizza? It will not perform any action, because that person is basically just a voice or an engine that answers your question. It doesn't do any action. Okay, what if we give capabilities to that person to do an action? Okay, to be an agent. That's why we name the AI tool agentic AI. That's so now this AI tool can generate information, but at the same time, agentic AI, in addition to generate new content, it is able to perform action based on that new content. For example, let's give an example. Of course, the pizza example is not real for AI, because that's requires a physical person or a physical robot to perform that, which is there, by the way. There are robots that is integrated into AI that can perform some kitchen stuff, but let's talk about the AI that we're going to use. For example, I will instead of asking the AI, okay, what is can you bring me the cheapest flights from the US to Paris? It will use generative AI first to come up with the cheapest flight, okay? And it will ask you a follow-up question. By the way, generative AI can ask you a follow-up question, okay? Like, for example, okay, what is the time period? What's the dates that you are planning to travel? So you answer, okay, I want for example, to travel to Paris in July 2026. Okay, so it will try to search the web, come up with, bring you all of the cheapest flights that is from, for example, Salt Lake to Paris. Okay, but that's only information. Until this moment, this is generative AI. But what if you can ask generative, okay, please book that flight, book the cheapest flight. Okay, now it doesn't only now answer your question, it will perform an action. It will access a website, choose the dates, and then choose the destination. It choose the departure city, the destination city, and then it will try to search about the cheapest flight, and then it will select one of the flights, the departure flights and the return flight, and it will process that and submit and purchase that flight for you. All of these actions are agentic AI. So we use the AI now as agent helping you booking a flight. Okay, it is present now. You can use that. And we are going to use some of these agentic AI in our class, like performing actions. Okay. Also, something more simple, because we are not going to book flights during our course. We are going, for example, okay, if I want to book a restaurant near me, or if I want to send an email or for example analyze my emails and then automatically send emails to someone, if for example this if I received an email that has some requirements. Okay, all of these are you are hiring AI agents that perform actions on behalf of you. Okay, so of course when we talk about agentic AI, we are not only processing this information without any access credentials. It will ask you about credentials. So agentic AI, if I am, for example, want to put if I want the agentic AI to put an event on my calendar, that's an action. Okay, but this action requires you to give access to this AI to be able to add events on your calendar on behalf of you. So you have to connect your AI tool to your Google account, so it can, for example, put, or Outlook account, so it can access your account and put events on behalf of you. Okay, so that's how agentic AI work, and agentic AI is a lot of things. So we are going to talk about a lot of tools, starting from simple actions, like for example adding events to your calendar, and up to developing an app. That's why I always consider vibe coding, and vibe coding that's the third element that we're going to talk about now. The vibe coding means that you are talking to the AI, asking AI to code an application or a website for you, to develop an app or a website for you. That's vibe coding. It doesn't require you to understand any coding. It doesn't require you to program anything, but it does require you to communicate effectively with the AI to be able to build the app you want. Okay, so vibe coding. Vibe coding is a special type of agentic AI because that's an agent that acts like a software developer. Okay, you ask the AI, okay, build me a restaurant app that has, for example, these capabilities: online ordering, a menu, for example, online commerce website that shows all of the menu items, the ability to add the menus to a cart, ability to connect this website to a bank account so you can process purchases through the website, ability to track the location and track order deliveries and so on. You write that, and we are going to talk about prompt engineering, how to write that efficiently so the AI can understand your question and can be able to process your question. Okay, so you ask the AI about developing that. Okay, AI will first use generative AI to gather all of the information about, okay, what language, programming language I will use, which language is best for restaurant website. It will just skim through or search through the web about the best practices and which language is better and which capabilities require specific languages, okay, and specific framework, and it will process all of that. It will work on searching through all of that and